Think about the last time a stranger bumped into you. On a train, in a crowd, in a doorway. You probably muttered, "Sorry." So did they. Two animals collide, and both apologize. Now picture two chimpanzees in that same doorway. One of them would likely end up bleeding. Chimps are our closest relatives, and they cannot do what you just did. They cannot pack thousands of strangers into a metal box underground and have everyone come out unharmed. We do it every single day without thinking. Humans are astonishingly, abnormally tolerant. We sit shoulder to shoulder with people we will never know, and almost none of us attacks anyone. No other ape on Earth lives like this. So here is the question that should bother you. Why are we so calm? What happened to us? The answer is hidden in a place you would never think to look. Your own face. Look at a human skull from 50,000 years ago, then look at yours. You would barely recognize them as the same animal. The ancient skull is heavier, a thick, jutting brow ridge, a long, powerful jaw built for serious biting, large teeth with room to spare. Now your skull. The brow is smooth, the face is flat and small. The jaw is so short that for many of us the last teeth no longer fit. That is what wisdom teeth are. Teeth your ancestors had room for, crammed into a mouth that shrank around them. And it is not just the face. Researchers have found that the average human brain actually grew smaller over roughly the last 30,000 years by an estimated 10%. The exact timing and cause are still debated, but the trend is real. We did not just get gentler. We physically changed shape. Softer faces, smaller jaws, smaller skulls. If you saw this pattern in any other species, you would have a word for it. You would say that animal had been domesticated. And that is exactly what a growing number of scientists now believe happened. Not to a dog, not to a cow. To us? To understand how an animal can domesticate itself, we have to leave the human story for a moment and travel to a fur farm in Soviet Siberia. In 1959, a geneticist named Dmitry Belyaev began a now famous experiment. He wanted to know how wolves had ever become dogs. His hypothesis was that early humans did not breed wolves for floppy ears or curly tails. They bred them for one thing only: for not biting, for tameness. To test it, Belyaev worked with silver foxes, and he selected on a single rule. A fox that approached a human hand calmly was allowed to breed. A fox that snarled or fled was not. That was the only thing he chose for: tameness. Nothing else. And then something strange began to happen. Something he had not selected for at all. Within a handful of generations, the tame foxes started to change physically. Patches of white appeared in their fur. Some ears went floppy. Some tails began to curl. Snouts shortened. Skulls became smaller and more juvenile. Belyaev had bred only for friendliness. And friendliness had dragged a whole suite of physical traits along with it. This bundle, the soft features that seem to ride along with tameness, is often called domestication syndrome. Now an important caution, because honesty matters here. In recent years, researchers have challenged parts of this story. Some of Belyaev's foxes may have come from stock that was already partly tame. And scientists still argue over what actually links tameness to those physical changes. One influential idea points to neural crest cells, the embryonic cells that help build the adrenal glands, and also the cartilage, pigment, and facial bone. The proposal is that selecting for a milder stress response quietly reshapes all of them at once. It is a compelling hypothesis. It is not settled fact. But strip away the disputed mechanism, and a stubborn pattern remains. Across many domesticated animals, tameness and soft juvenile features tend to appear together. Now look back at your own shrinking skull. The smooth brow, the small jaw, the crowded teeth. We carry the same signature, which forces the unavoidable question. If we are domesticated, who was the breeder? There was no human standing outside the species, choosing which of us got to reproduce. So who or what was selecting us for tameness? Here is the answer, and here is where everything we assume gets turned upside down. We did it to ourselves. In 2019, the anthropologist Richard Wrangham laid out a detailed version of this argument, the human self-domestication hypothesis. His reasoning starts with a problem every early human band would have faced: the bully. In a small group living hand to mouth, a strong, aggressive, domineering male is a catastrophe. He seizes food. He starts fights. He destabilizes everyone. In a chimpanzee troop, there is little anyone can do. The strongest individual usually wins. But humans had developed something chimps never did: language. And with language came the ability to conspire. The weaker members could talk, plan, agree in secret. And together, they could do what no single one of them could do alone: eliminate the tyrant. Wrangham argues that for thousands of generations, the most reactively violent men, the hot-tempered, impulsive, dangerous ones, were systematically removed by their own communities, killed, exiled, cut out of the gene pool. This is the subversion at the heart of the whole story. We tell ourselves that human evolution is a triumph of strength, that we conquered the planet by being the smartest, toughest predator. But the self-domestication hypothesis says the opposite. We did not win by becoming more dangerous to each other. We won by executing our most dangerous members, generation after generation, until the species that survived was the tolerant one, the calm one, the tame one. It was not survival of the strongest. By this account, it was survival of the friendliest. And just like Belyaev's foxes, as we selected against aggression, our bodies followed. The brow softened, the jaw shrank, the face went gentle. The shape of the human skull may be the fossil record of our own self-taming. But this story does not end in peace, because there is a darkness inside it that should stop you cold. Researchers who study aggression draw a sharp line between two completely different kinds. Reactive aggression is hot. The bar fight, the flash of rage, the impulsive strike. That is the kind we bred out of ourselves. That is why the doorway ends in sorry instead of blood. But there is a second kind: proactive aggression. Cold, planned, patient, calculated in advance. And the very thing that tamed us, our gift for cooperation and planning, is exactly the thing that supercharged this second kind. The same skill that let a group secretly coordinate to kill a tyrant is the skill that lets a group secretly coordinate to kill anyone. We did not delete violence. We upgraded it. And this is not just philosophy. Wrangham and others point to our nearest relatives for the contrast. In the forests of places like Gombe and Kibale, primatologists have documented chimpanzees conducting coalitionary killings. Small bands that slip quietly to the edge of their territory, ambush a lone neighbor, and retreat. The disturbing part is how familiar that sounds. Not a chaotic brawl, a planned raid. Take that ancient capacity, hand it language, hand it agriculture, hand it bureaucracy and technology, and you do not get bar fights. You get organized warfare. You get the massacre planned on paper. Chimpanzees have violent border patrols. Only the domesticated ape builds the machinery to do it by the millions. So here is what your gentle face actually means. You are looking at the result of one of the longest selective breeding programs in natural history. And we were both the breeders and the bred. We made ourselves calm enough to live in cities of strangers, tolerant enough to apologize in a doorway, tame enough that our skulls reshaped themselves around the new, milder animal inside. And the same process that made us peaceful in the small made us capable of cruelty on a scale no wild animal could ever reach. We did not escape our own violence. We domesticated it. We organized it. We gave it a plan. So the next time a stranger bumps into you and you both say sorry, notice the small miracle of it. An ape too gentle to fight over a doorway. Then remember what that gentleness cost and what it was built alongside. We tamed ourselves to survive each other. And in the same breath, we became the most dangerous animal that has ever lived.